Good morning. Um, Start off with the disclaimer. So, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing in this video is financial advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any financial product. All content is for informational purposes only, based on personal opinions and experiences. Trading futures, options, and other financial instruments involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for every investor. You can lose more than your initial investment, so always do your own research and consult with a licensed financial professional. Okay, so here's the news today. Today's the busier than earlier this week, at least. The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but we've got Chicago Fed and initial jobless claims at 8:30, and then we've got existing home sales at 10. This stuff is S&P stuff. Existing home sales at 10, and a Fed speaker at 2. So these two are probably the ones I'll watch out for, because by 2 I'm pretty much done for the day, at least in terms of actively trading. So yeah, 10 and 10. Okay, I'm just gonna add that to my alerts. I'll just do that quickly. All right, that's set up. So going through the pre-market sheet now, we can do from the TPO. So big gap lower, I'll say that first. We are still one time framing higher on the weekly. We did end the one time framing on the RTH and on the full session on the daily. Sorry. Yeah, so weekly one time framing ends here, 60.08, I think it was, or 09 or something, and we were close. We were in like 20s, and now I guess we're getting a bit of support. But anyway, yeah, so daily's down. Weekly, you're still technically one time framing higher. That could be preserved. We're obviously opening in an imbalanced condition with a decent gap lower. Yeah, we closed the gap yesterday, obviously. So I had no trades yesterday, but the read was good on the gap reversion at least. I was still leaning to the short side yesterday morning, which I think I mentioned in prep, which ultimately was the right call. I still didn't have any trades yesterday. One almost set up, but or it's set up enough where I attempted to get filled, but it just didn't get me, which will happen. But anyway, this is still the swing high. I didn't add this because this was sort of just a check of the swing high. So still got a weak swing high. The excesses of yesterday are very nice. Good excess on both sides. Neither are weak. So you honestly don't see that too often. But yes. All right. So we can go to the key levels then. So above us, well, we did have this prior week settle, which technically for me is still naked because I want it touched in the RTH session. But we got prior week settle. We've got this naked settle up here. We've got yesterday's low. We've got settle. We've got overnight high. In the 60-67 low, just like basically where we are now. I would like to see that touched as well in the RTH. This low, because it is weak. So I want to see it fixed up in the RTH. It may even be double TPO. No, it's not, but it's a very weak low. Yeah, so that's important. And then below, we've got the prior week low, the weekly one time framing, like I said. You've got overnight low. You've got the purple key stock zone that I have here. And there's also some singles down in this 59.30 area, 59.20 or whatever. Yeah, so that's the key level. So we can move into the TPO. Like I said, like this, I was ready for this, I guess. Like yesterday it was weird, and I think that's why I guess sort of rambled on about it a lot yesterday, was that like all the signs looked good for the gap higher, like in the push to swing low, especially because you had broken this in the overnight. But I don't know, like there was just it just had a certain look to me. Like the way the couple, the past 5 days or 6 days have progressed, it has just seemed like buyers were weak. And so we could get support down here and still continue. Now I have no idea. Like my thinking was, well, I just don't think we were going to get this now. And we probably needed something deeper, and this was the key thing I had. But, now that we've extended this low, we've already gone deeper. And so from anywhere, basically here to anywhere below, you could technically get support and go for the swing highs. But yeah, this is shaping up to be decent. Like I think I'm following along well. So if we go into quick comments like gap day, gap lower day, and so today the gap with this gap, I'll basically be looking for what I normally look for on gap days. Like I said, we could get support already. We could want to preserve the one time framing on the weekly. And so if we do that, then the gap in revert day is plausible because of that, where you come up and you close the gap, potentially continuing back into yesterday's range, or potentially turning around again there and having this sort of a pullback. You also have just the straight up gap and go day that just continues lower, and that would be the key thing for that on me would be this test in this 59.45 area. And yeah, like those are the three main scenarios for the day. And you also have the potential, I guess more rare sort of just nothing burger scenario where you open in a gap, but then you kind of just accept prices and you just sort of balance in the middle of nowhere, which could happen considering we are sort of in a broader balance range. Like, we've traded here before, clearly, right? Like, this is sort of the more empty area, but you can see, like, there's still good volume here. What is this, actually? What was that MC? Where did that MC just spawn from? Oh, it's all the way back here. Where does it go to? Okay, so this is just giant. Anyway, we don't need that. But it may take too long to download or to load. But if I put a volume profile here for the whole thing. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, I guess because I'm using historical. So that would be today, basically. Yeah, there. So that's up to today. So yeah, you can see there's still good volume in this range. Like we could accept in this basically 60-90 to 60. Basically the 60 range. That whole 1 point range. So it's not impossible, at least, and so that's why I add the sort of nothing scenario where you just sort of open in the gap, but then you just kind of accept prices, and you fix a bit of stuff up here. Maybe you get the half gap, and then you check down here. You maybe hold the prior week's low or poke it, depending on what it wants to do. Sort of like a rest day kind of thing. But yeah, like that's really the scenarios for the day. So I can keep this one quick today. And just get into the drawings. Or actually, I will quickly go and say overnight is pretty good today. We are above it now, but sort of in the same sort of scalp early indication sense. It looks good if it stays here. In the sense that if we have an impulse below it, looks good on a pullback for continuation, and vice versa. If we impulse above it and hold, it looks good. Like it's a good VPOC. It's a good VPOC. So I will be watching that for early indications as well. Settle and yesterday's low, not really in the picture for now. Like we got to sort of get above full session levels for me to start thinking about those. But those obviously could lead to the continuation. But because it is a pretty large gap from high to low, by the time you get up here, you're getting into like the 70% range. So maybe there's something more. Like we want more of a reversion if we're able to fully close the gap today. But yeah, so I can go into my drawings. So what would I want? Prior week's low and key stock zone. Yes. And then settle overnight high and 5-day VPOC. Yeah, that's good. Then we'll just do this. So we've got key stock zone here. We've got key prior week's low. We've got overnight low. We've got overnight VPOC, which is good. We've got full session levels up here. I won't mark them, but I will be watching them on a reversion. We've got yesterday's low. We've got settle. We've got overnight high. And we've got 5-day VPOC. 5-day VPOC. Overnight high. Settle. Yesterday's low. Overnight VPOC. Overnight low. Prior week's low. And key stock zone. All right. So yeah, like I kind of already described how we could, like the scenarios I'm looking for, but sort of more in the weeds, I guess, a bit. Like I said, overnight VPOC is good. So if this push continues, like ideally this would start forming now, right? So the overnight would have the continued push higher, and then like ideally you'd open, near full session DGPs. So you'd open in and around here and then push higher and pull back and ideally hold full session DGPs instead, which is basically the same idea. It's just sort of when you go further, the full session DGP sometimes act as respect instead of actually retesting the VPOC. So this would be a bit cleaner based on how we look now on the high side, but it could still work out in the sense that you get the push through VPOC on the high side if we end up opening a bit down here as well. But yeah, so that would be a good early indication of the push for the gap close. And then really once you close the gap, it's the key area to say, okay, do we want to continue lower from here, or do we want to, have a bigger reversion? And in this bullish scenario, if we want more reversion, then you've got settle right above us, which is another key area to break, settle overnight high area. And if you get above that, then you could likely just sit sideways or sort of just go on a grind higher into the 5-day VPOC area. So we've got yesterday's low, which will be key if we want to continue lower from there, as well as settle. Settle gets a bit far, but if we do get there, it's going to be important. So, yeah. And then so on the bearish scenario, like I said, it's kind of if you push through like you are right now, overnight VPOC, boom, pushes through, potentially gets overnight low, potentially doesn't. In this case, I'll say it doesn't because pulls back, holds, VPOC continues, breaks, gets prior week low and overnight low, ideally in one push. Doesn't have to be, though. If you sort of break overnight low, pull back, hold overnight VPOC area, and continue, that's equally as good. But then once you get below prior week low, if you're staying below, then the next key target for me on the low side would be this key stock zone, which is also a potential key support area, and prior week's low as well. Yeah, and then if we get below this key stock zone, like we're not that far away from it, so we could. I'll really just be looking zone to zone. If we get below this zone and we're staying below, then basically I'll take that as, okay, we want to go for the swing low, right? Like, so you can kind of see here how this sort of bottom distribution is split, right? That's basically what this zone is. Whoops. And so if you get below this, then I'm saying, okay, then we want, these swing lows, and so we'll start making our way down there. There's a bunch of stuff in the way, and so we may not go all that distance, but that's how I'll interpret that, basically. But yeah, that's pretty much the plan today. I won't draw the balance, but like I said, we should watch out for balance, and we'll see that likely if there's just very poor extensions. Like you've been seeing it a lot the past couple days, so it's fresh in your mind. Where like if you're watching crude as well, it's like we'll start off with like a nice push. Exclude yesterday, because yesterday we actually moved, but um, you would start off right off the open. You'd always get a nice push, or right before the open, you'd get a nice push, and it'd like kind of make you think we were gonna go, and then instantly, almost, it just fizzled out, and that would be it. And then you'd sit sideways the rest of the day, and that was like the only impulsive move of the day, and it was like 20 ticks or 30 ticks or something. But yeah, so here's the plan. We'll try to trade it like I said. I'm still leaning to the low side. I think that key stock zone does want to get tested. Um, but really, like if we're above, like I'll trade the gap reversion as well. I don't mind because we could still just make our way lower. We don't have to test this key stock zone today. Like we've pretty clearly shown now that we don't want higher prices right now. So I think we've got the next couple of days for, like, I guess buyers to recoup if they want to make another push for swing high. And so you've got the next couple days basically if you need them to test this low. But yeah, so hope that was enjoyable, helpful in any way. Like I said, if you're trading the same market, if you're trading crude futures, then let me know what you're seeing. And if you're trading another futures market, I'd still like to know what you're seeing. Like I do watch the ES sometimes. I initially started trading on the ES, and I moved to crude pretty recently, actually, like maybe the past quarter. Um, just because of basically all the volatility from Trump's tariffs and whatnot, and just that crude moves very similarly, but it's a lot less initial margin. Like I guess it's cheaper to trade because it is less liquid. It does a lot less volume day to day. But yeah, like so futures markets I'm pretty familiar with. The other stuff not so much. But feel free to comment if you've been seeing anything interesting in the markets. So I'll end it there, and I will be back end of day if I have a trade.